All right, welcome. This is Jeff Heggie. I am excited to be here today because ever since this guest told me she was willing to come on my show, I've been looking forward to this. And so Amberley Snyder, I've had a number of cowboys on this show. She's a cowgirl. She's done some amazing things, and she's got an amazing story as well. She's also a motivational speaker. She does a lot of things, but I want to get into her story. So welcome, Amberley. Tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we'll get into your story and go from there.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm super excited to be able to come on and get to visit. I guess if we wanted to put my story or my life in a nutshell, I started riding horses when I was 3, started competing in rodeo when I was 7. Absolutely fell in love with it. So I rodeoed all through the junior rodeo days up into high school. The year after I graduated, I was involved in a roller truck accident, leaving me paralyzed from the waist down. I then had to kind of start life over. So I was, there was no one I could ask how I could get back on a horse or what I could do. So we figured out with straps on my saddle, I was able to return to competing in rodeo 18 months after. And now I'm back to not only being in that arena, but competing professionally. I'm the only professional paralyzed barrel racer in the United States. And on top of that, I'm also a keynote speaker. So I feel like that's kind of my little story.
Awesome. And I understand you had a good weekend this weekend.
I was not mad at that. No, my horse, I have a little horse that I've just started competing on, and it was her first pro rodeo check this weekend. So that was exciting.
Awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right. I also, there's so many different directions we could go with this, but one of the things I really admire about you is your mindset from, it's not like I know your whole story, but there is a lot I know about you because there's a movie about you. So share a little bit about that, how that happened too, and tell our audience about your movie so they can make sure they can go watch it.
Yes. So it is called Walk, Ride, Rodeo. It is on Netflix. I tell people, if you have seen it, thank you. If you haven't, get it together, because I know that everyone either has Netflix or knows someone that does. So that came about, it was actually a long time in the making. We started the script writing in 2013, and the company that was writing the script, it actually kind of fizzled out. And then I ran in the American in 2015, which is the world's richest one-day rodeo down in Texas. And after I ran in that as the fan exemption, another company came to me and asked if they could do the movie. And I had actually said no the first time. I said no the second time. It wasn't something I wanted to do. I felt like my family had been through enough in real life that we didn't need to rehash it in a movie, but my parents said no, that they wanted to do it. So they started revamping the script with the American put in it, of course. And then in 2018 is when, 2018 when Netflix came on board and we were able to film the movie. And it came out in 2019. So that was super exciting. Crazy journey to relive your whole life in the form of a movie. Not something that was like you can prepare for. I had no idea what to expect going on set, but it was a fun adventure. And Netflix did a good job with it. Of course, they had to add in a few extra things and a little more drama, but they really did a good job. And I was glad that the message was right when it came out. So yeah, people can go check that out. It's on Netflix still.
And it will bring you to tears at a few parts. So
it could make you cry every now and then.
It really was amazing. And let's hear about your sister as well and your role in the movie.
So me and my little sister, we are the only one that rodeoed in my family. There's actually 6 kids in my family, so there's a lot of us. But me and my little sister were our own stunt. Well, I was my own stunt double. She was my pre-accident stunt double. It was kind of one of the agreements that was non-negotiable for me going into it. Like when they wanted my contract at all, I said, it has to be in writing before I will even sign it, that I will be my own stunt double. Since I am the only one that does what I do, I didn't want them to try to go hire someone to come in and try to play the role that I know how to do, or ask them to make their leg, pretend like their legs don't work. So that's what we did. I was my own stunt double for the film when it came to running. And then my little sister, when it was the parts where it was before the accident, it was her job to play those roles.
No, that's amazing and very cool that you were able to do that. Well, actually, before we get into, I want to talk really about some of the things that I learned about you throughout that movie. But also, before we get to that, I've had one of my recent episodes, Hunter was on here and we talked about the American. Talk about how you got involved in the American. And I mean, if people are listening to this and they haven't listened to my other episodes or they don't know what the American is, tell a little bit more about it, because it's an amazing rodeo.
It really is. So actually, a couple of years ago, they used to do a fan exemption. So the fans across the nation could vote somebody in, anybody that they wanted in any event. And so it was in 2015. It actually started in the winter, like December, I think, of 2015, or maybe early January. I should go back and find my exact dates. But I mean, I'd heard about the fans exemption, but I didn't think a whole lot of it, because I'm like, people don't know who I am. I'm not going to get voted in. And I was just like, I don't know. I honestly had not even thought about it. Wasn't even something that had crossed my mind. And I was still trying to figure out, the running. I was still trying to be great. I mean, I was doing the amateur level stuff around here, but I wasn't a pro. So I actually got a message from Andrea Busby. So Jeff and Andrea Busby own Busby Quarter Horses. And she Facebook messaged me and said, "Hey, would you be interested in going to the American? Like, we want to back you. We want to get you here." And I read that one night and I'm like, what is that even real? Like, what is she even talking about? Like, who can just decide that? Like, who can just jump up and be like, "We want to back you"? So I'm like, I read it and I said, sure, that would be great or whatever, and went to bed. Honestly, didn't even put two thoughts to it. Well, I wake up in the morning and I have another message. And she's like, "So you're going, we've shared it. We're getting it shared. We're doing it. This is what we're doing. You're going." And I'm like, oh my gosh. Okay. What do we need to do? And I mean, obviously I still had to win the votes, right? I still had to do that, but they were like, "No, we are going to advertise. We're getting everybody on board. We're getting you to the American." So they did. I mean, with all of their efforts and the advertising and the story getting shared, I was voted in as a fan exemption. So I was able to go down and run with my horse Power at the time was the one that I was running, and run in that rodeo. And I did not win the American. Some people think that I won the American. I did not. I wish. That would be super cool. But I was able to be 2/10 off of the reigning world champion. So I was definitely in the ballpark with the girls. And that was exciting for me. Just even for me to know that, I don't know, I guess I wasn't chasing a dream that was not possible after my accident, just to be able to be in that arena, in that ballpark. So yeah, that was kind of how it went. And it was crazy that just that one run at the American, what a life shift that was even able to make for me.
That's incredible, because I mean, especially like you say, you're only 2/10 off. It's not like you were 2 seconds off the world champion. You were in there. So that's amazing. So I want to talk a little bit more, looking at mindset and goals and all that. And, okay, you have this tragic accident, life-changing. And where is your mindset immediately? And where I'm leading is the name of your movie is, in the movie, when they started putting you in physio, that's the first thing they talked about was, you've got to have some goals. And that's what you talked about. Does that reflect how it really went? Were you already right from day one saying, here are my goals?
Yes. So that part they actually did a very good job in the movie when it came down to that. So the first 10 days after my accident was spent in Casper, Wyoming, right after surgery. So that was kind of this 10-day recovery period. that was really terrible. Cause I really wasn't awake for a lot of that. But when we flew, I was strong enough to fly from Wyoming to Utah. So Utah is when I started my first day of physical therapy. So first day I've gotten there, I've flown in and they said, all right, we need to set some goals. And I told them easy, walk, ride, rodeo. That's all I got. That's all I want to do. And they kind of looked at me like I was crazy. Like, what on earth do you even think we're doing? Like, who is this girl? And, I obviously had to shift my goals to make smaller ones so that I could get to those big ones. But those have never even shifted. Even now, obviously I'm riding and I'm rodeoing, but the walking is still as a huge goal for me and something that I plan to accomplish. So, it really was like that. Like it really was. They came in, I said, this is what we're doing. And my physical therapist learned very quickly that if everything was a challenge or a competition, it was easier for everyone.
As it was funny, actually, as I was watching that part of the movie, I was reflecting back on an experience of myself. I was steer wrestling at a rodeo in Alberta, got in an accident. And from the hospital, I was still trying to enter rodeos. But the difference was I had a head injury. I didn't even know. I don't remember any of that. I didn't know I was trying to enter rodeos, stuff like that. But I watched the movie and it's like, right from the get-go, she's got her plan, she's got her goals, and that's incredible. And so it's easy to be a victim. It's easy to say, I'm paralyzed, I'm never going to rodeo again. How did you overcome that victim mentality?
You know what? I think that I don't even think it was like I woke up one morning and that just happened. It was a lot of ups and downs. And I can't even lie that there are still days now that I'm like, oh my gosh, this is just not fair. Like, this is just not what I planned on. I would be totally lying if I tell you that I have the greatest attitude of all time every single day. I wish that I did, but I'm also realistic that, like when things get frustrating and hard, I will admit that they're frustrating and that they're hard. But so I think it's just a process. And I would say that it was kind of an overcoming of a lot of things, right? Like I learned how to treasure the overcoming moments. And I learned how to grasp onto when things did go right to make sure you hang on to those. And I really tried to focus on what I was improving, not what I wasn't. And I think that helped a lot. The goal setting really does. Like if you need to shift out of, why me, into and this is going to be cliche, into the try me concept. It really, for me, it was the goals. I'm like, okay, today I'm going to be able to put my chair in my car by myself. Today I'm going to be able to not just put my chair in my car by myself, but be kind of fast. Today I'm going to be able to transfer with no one. Today I'm going to be able, all of these things. It was like, it wasn't that my life was perfect. And it wasn't even like that I was like, man, this is sweet and I've got this handled. It was just like, okay, today I can handle this and I'm going to do this. And by doing that, it was able to let me win a little every day. I was able to have a little bit of like, okay, you did that. Yep. Like, you're cool. You did that. And I think you hang on to that feeling and I don't care who you are. Like sometimes you've got to tell yourself like you're a badass. Like you as a person, you did it. And it can be something not in comparison to somebody else, because that will make us feel that this is hard and I don't know why I'm doing this. And no, it's just you as a person, you got to feel like you're cool. You did that. And so I felt like I had to shift to that, not looking at anybody else, not doing anyone else, because there is no one else that was doing what I was doing, but obviously handling the accident that I was, and just say, okay, what can you do today? And hold on to that. And that shifts your brain in the right direction.
And I think a lot of times too, is people don't take the time to reflect on the small victories that they do have. Even the larger ones, we're so focused on setting goals that a lot of times we don't look back and say, oh, a year ago, the goals I had, I'm living those dreams now. And I think we can really, with that gratitude and reflection on those small wins, it helps us build up to take on those bigger challenges too.
Absolutely. Absolutely. If you don't celebrate along the way, then what are you doing to be happy?
Exactly. Absolutely. So right now, I mean, right from the beginning, walk, ride, rodeo. The riding and rodeo you've accomplished. I know you're still have that focus on walking. What are you doing in the process to look at achieving that goal?
So I have a standing frame at my house, just here. It's actually behind me. That I stand in when I'm home. That just helps, even like the mentality of it. It helps with my bones and my muscles and everything. When muscles are kind of a tricky concept, because if they don't fire, you can't do anything about that. So some people will be like, well, if you stand in your standing frame, why can't you keep your muscles big? I'm like, well, because my muscles are flaccid. It can't help build those, but it can help my bones. And it definitely even helps with my mentality and keeping me stretched. So I have noticed that if I don't stand, I get sore a lot. My back gets sore, my legs get jumpy. A lot of that comes into play if I don't get to stand. So I do that when I am home. And then I went and did some stem cell, not last summer because it was a weird year, right? But the summer before, I was able to do stem cell over in Colombia, and I would like to do more of that. I really am hoping that I can financially get to a point that I could set aside a couple months and do stem cell and serious physical therapy again. I just struggle with like not speaking, because that is my actual job. My career is my speaking. And so I struggle saying no to a job right now in order to do that. And I hope that I get to the point that I can, and I could put aside, like I said, 2 or 3 months of very strict stem cells, and physical therapy, and go and be very intense in that again and see what we can do. Obviously just staying healthy is in that as well, but I don't like to be a guinea pig either. Like there's definitely some things out there that people can try. And like the electrical stimulus in the back, I actually really wanted to do that. I still do want to do that, but right now it's still kind of guinea pig status. Like, and I don't want to go backwards.
Right.
So I'm waiting to see what the long-term effects are on those kind of things, because I would hate to have what I have right now and go at the wrong direction due to whatever those experiments are. But at some point I would like to be able to have that as well. And that just has to be lined up. Like that just has to, as of right now, you can't go into a clinic and say, I want the electrical stimulus put in my back.
Okay.
It's still in trial situations.
Right. Well, my confidence in seeing what you've done and your attitude towards everything, I know you are going to do it. So good luck on that continued journey.
Thank you.
Now, the interesting thing is whether you've had to overcome all these things or not, rodeo is a mind game. Rodeo is, when I work with athletes, all athletes have to work on their mental strength and mental development and overcome challenges and stuff. But I don't think there's any sport like rodeo when it comes to that, and especially when you can have so many excuses. I broke the barrier, I tipped a barrel, all of those different things. So when you're faced with a challenge, whether it's something major like you've been through, or something like tipping a barrel or anything like that, how do you overcome those challenges to move on to the next one?
Oh gosh, I wish I was the all-time pro at this, because I still have tons of room for improvement, and I will happily admit that. Because it is such a mind game out here. And this is the first year that I've rodeoed as hard as I have in the professional scheme. So it's been even a learning experience for me, because the miles, just the miles you put on, you think a lot. You get to think a lot about, like I just drove 8 hours to this rodeo. I had 17 seconds to perform, and I tipped a barrel. And now I'm going to drive 8 hours to the next one. And I get to think about that, so that part has been kind of even a challenge for me this summer and figuring out what I can do. Thank goodness for the team that I have that's with me, that they listen to me complain. They listen to me be upset. And then we take a shift and we go, okay, so now what? Okay, so that didn't work, or that setup didn't work, or realistically, there are situations where the ground didn't hold, or, you had a circumstance that was out of your control. So we have to forget about that. And what can we do to be ready for the next one? I've talked to my brother a lot. My brother is playing professional baseball for the Colorado Rockies. He's in AAA now. And I even texted him the other day and I'm like, how do we do this? Because if you follow baseball, it's a game of failure. And so I was getting kind of frustrated because I'm like, gosh, I'm making good runs. But they're just not enough. And I was like, what do I do, T? Like, what are you doing out there when you're not getting hits? How do you stay, in the place you want to be? And he said, I can't just look at my success for if I get a hit. He's like, you can't just look at your success for if you got a check. He said, let's look back to, all right, are you making the runs? Set the goal you want to be. And do that. So here I am giving my strategy that I'm getting from my brother, right? It's not even for me, but that's what I've been trying to do since I talked to him. That was the end of June that we had that visit. And, knock on wood, I've been able to pull checks every weekend since then, but I wasn't going into that run saying I need to pull a check. I'm going into that run of, all right, what am I focusing on? How do I make this run the best run I can make it today? And when I come out, I'm trying to celebrate that prior to, did I make money?
Right.
And I think that has made a difference for me just mentally, even for my horse. I know my horse feels my energy when I come out a lot. And so I've been trying to build into my horse. Doesn't matter. He doesn't know if we made money, right? He doesn't know that. So I've been trying to build into him, like, the happiness, the triumph, the feeling of victory, from the time I've finished my run. So I get back to the trailer and I've taken care of him so that he feels like, hey, we won that out there. Just like we were talking about with the small victories, your horse needs to know that too. Like, they're totally aware if you come out and you're mad. So,
right.
If you can come out and your horse can feel like, hey, we just rocked that in there, I feel like they're going to be able to be happy to go in and try again, versus the other way around. Because there is no way in heck that these horses get in this trailer and don't feel all the miles too. Like, I'm sure my horse this year is like, what are we doing? Like, why are we driving so far? But I want him to feel like every time we get done with a run, he's won the world. Like, he has done that. So that he wants to go in and do just as well for me the next time.
Awesome. So just for perspective's sake, for those that are listening and don't rodeo, how many are you going to hit this year?
I think I'm going to be probably near 80 or 90.
Awesome.
I bet by the time the summer is over, or by the time the year is over. Now when I'm doing my count though, I'm not just doing rodeos, I'm doing barrel races too.
Right.
So by the number of runs that I will have made will be somewhere around 80 to 90 runs. Awesome. We have done a lot. And every weekend since June, we have done, minus last weekend. I only did one last weekend, but everything before then, I've done 3 to 4 in a week or a weekend, either way we put it. So it's been a lot. This next week I have 4, the following week I have 6. So it's like, it just depends on where you're at and where you're going. It's a lot. For those who are listening, it is a lot. We do not take it lightly on the rodeo road.
Well, and that's especially for you barrel racers, as a steer wrestler, I could jump in a truck and say, okay, we've got to make it to the next one. I'm leaving the horses here. I'll be able to get on someone else's horse. You guys can't do that. You guys are hauling the horses everywhere, and That's a lot of miles. That's awesome. So rodeo wise, what are your goals this year?
My goals this year, I would like to make circuit finals in my circuit. If I was to set a goal out for this year, is that and just in season my young horse and get my good horse more consistent in different areas. And then I had like a couple bucket list rodeos as well that I wanted to make sure that I was able to do this year. So Cheyenne was one of those. I ran in Cheyenne last week. I'll go back up to Pendleton and run that one. That's a bucket list. Salinas was a bucket list rodeo, but they've changed the way that Salinas is going to be this year to enter. So I'm actually really bummed about that. So a little bit of those was just make circuit finals and hit some of those bucket list rodeos so that I could kind of get my feet wet for years to come.
Cheyenne and Pendleton were both bucket list rodeos for myself that I never achieved. I wasn't in either of them. So, but that's history.
Yeah, Cheyenne was super cool.
I haven't jumped a steer in a long time. Was it?
Yeah, Cheyenne was super cool, and Pendleton I'm excited to do in September.
Yeah, very cool. Good for you. So what has been your rodeo highlight? What has been your biggest highlight?
Oh man. I don't know. I mean, the first one that people would want to hear, I guess, or that would expect to be running in the American, because that really was a neat experience. But some of the rodeos that I've been able to win, or even barrel races that I've been able to win, have been phenomenal for me. They do a really big barrel race in September every year called the Buckles and Barrels for Bailey. And it's a huge race. There's over 600 runners in that race. And we were able to win a round last year. That one was a pretty neat moment for me, because I didn't go in with the expectation of honestly, I didn't go in with the expectation of I could win this. Like, I knew who was there, and I went in with the expectation of I am going to lay down the best runs I can make here, and I hope to place. And we won. So that, to me, that one was huge, because it honestly snapped in my brain. No, don't go in there with the mentality to place. You're good enough to win. So go in there with the mentality of you're good enough to win. It doesn't matter who's here. So that one, I mean, was good for a lot of reasons. And then there have been some sweet runs I've made this year in the pro rodeo world, like to make this first pro rodeo check on my mare. That was exciting to be able to do. To place where I've placed this year on my gelding at some of the toughest rodeos with every single girl that is there. That was cool. If I hadn't tipped a barrel in Cheyenne, I was fast enough to make it back to the qualifying rounds, to the quarterfinals. And so just knowing that, I mean, obviously we didn't get to go because I did tip a barrel, but if I had been clean, I was fast enough to go back to the quarterfinals. And that, just those kind of things I've been trying to hang on to. I don't know how I'd pick a favorite. Look, I've just named 10. I don't know. It's, I guess I try to find a lot of victory in a lot of different runs.
Well, and those are some amazing highlights and amazing accomplishments, but even reflecting back before your accident, you had a ton of success throughout high school. Tell us a little bit about that too.
Yeah, I was the world all-around champion for the Little Britches Rodeo Association in 2009. So that was the year before my accident. I guess I didn't even think I could go back there. That was a pretty sweet deal. To not just, be a world champion, but in the all-around, because obviously you have to be handy enough, not just in one event, but in multiple. So in that particular rodeo, I had made the short round in the pole bending, the breakaway roping, and the goat tying. Only thing I didn't make it is barrel racing, which of course is what I am now. But back then I tipped it was when power was brand new, and I tipped a barrel to make it back in the short round in the barrel racing as well. And that one was super unexpected. I mean, I know I'd had a good finals. I knew I had no idea what anyone else had done in the finals, but I knew I had had a good finals. And that was one of those I went and checked. It was before the world. So you can win the finals all around and the world all around. So I went over and they posted the finals all around. And I go over and I just look at results and I'm like, wait a minute, I'm winning this. Like, this is me on the top. I mean, that's one of those, you like kind of look around, you're like, does anyone else see that? Is this real? Is my name really up here that I won this finals all around? And so I didn't even know about the world one at that time. I just seen that and I thought, oh my gosh, like I said, I knew I had a good finals, but I knew I'd had a couple bobbles too. So that rodeo, to win the world at that, oh my gosh. It's another one of those, like, your hard work paid off, right? That's the feeling you have, like, oh my gosh, that hard work paid off to finally have this title and this award of what it is. Because it's not just a saddle, right? I mean, it's all the hours and the time and the money and the sweat and the tears and everything that went into getting that to that spot.
That's amazing. That's awesome. Now, looking at things from more than just a rodeo perspective, I want to look at an athlete perspective, because I work with a lot of athletes, and there's a lot of things. It doesn't matter what sport you're in; it's the same thing. And I like this, knowing your brother plays professional baseball, your dad was involved with professional baseball, all those things. What's the mentality? What are the mindset and all the things that need to happen to really get to that next level? I know Tyson well. Thankful for Tyson introducing us. He talked about growing up and the hours he put in gave him the confidence to know he could win. What does someone need to be able to know they can get to that level?
Gosh, and I wonder if it's, I wish it was like one secret recipe, but I honestly think it's going to be different for everyone and what they do, just according to how they did grow up. Like Tyson, like, he had a hard upbringing, right? And so he had no choice but to be tough. I mean, that was the only road that there was. And I feel like because of his upbringing that's the only option, then he has that mentality in the arena of, the option right here is to be better. That's it. That's what I've got. And I think that he completely nails that mentality. In my household, my dad was a professional baseball player and he was first round draft pick. Like he was the best of the best. Like he was it. So my dad teaching us as kids, like he knew what it took to be that person. And he knows what it feels like to be that. Where when you enter the ball field or you enter the locker room, you're the best one in there. And so he tried to raise us to feel that same way, like carry yourself like you're the best. And when it comes down to a little more work or a little less fun, I mean, like that, or like not when it comes down to, but that's like what you've got to decide as a person, as an athlete. I mean, my little brothers slept with their baseball gloves when they were little. Like, that's just, they love that sport. I swear, I tell people at 3 years old, we knew what we wanted to be for the rest of our lives. And it was just because, I don't know if we were steered that way by our parents. And it was just like, what do you want to be? What do you want to do? Okay, what are your goals to do it? My older sister, she was a national champion on the trampoline at like 8 years old or something, or 6 years old, like pretty tiny. Like she was a national champion. Like it's bred into us that was the way we had to be. So I don't know if there's any secret recipe, but I feel like a lot of it is going to come with the people that are around you, right? Telling you you're good, you're capable, you've got this, we support you. And I know I got a lot of that. I was literally in an interview yesterday was Sunday, 2 days ago. And she asked me in that interview, like, how do you think that you had the ability to overcome what you've handled? I can tell you, what was the other option? I didn't see another road. There wasn't another road. It was just, okay, well, this is really terrible. But what else was there? I mean, it was like my brain had already been trained and had been focused and had been conditioned to just see where I wanted to be. Whatever these roadblocks were in the front of it, I mean, that's just what they were. It wasn't a dead end. It was just a roadblock. And I think that has a lot to do with it. Just having the mentality of, even when stuff is there is not another road. It's still the same road. So you better figure out how you want to get to where you want to be.
I love that. That's such a powerful mentality to be able to look at that. And yeah, the roadblock is just exactly that. It's a roadblock. It's not stopping me. That's awesome. So, and that's actually on one of my other podcasts. I talked about that this morning, is the power of the people that surround you and what that brings you. And so obviously that's how you guys have been raised. You've been surrounded by the people that have empowered you and given you the mindset to do amazing things, because you and your siblings are all doing it. So that's amazing. Now, you mentioned it earlier that your speaking it's obviously something that you love, but it's also your livelihood. Where are you at now? How many states have you spoken in? I know I am
at 41 states.
Awesome.
So I'm getting close. One of my goals is to speak in all 50 states. So I'm at 41 states. So we're getting close. We are not quite there yet. I get to speak in Maine in September. So that will be my 42nd state. I was just in Connecticut watching my brother play ball. He just got called up to AAA. He was in AA and he was in Connecticut, and that's on my list. And I told him, man, can I just give you a motivational speech while I'm here so that I can count it? And he just laughed. He's like, if you want. And I'm like, no, I won't. But I was just joking with him about that. I'm like, because Connecticut's so small. I'm like, let me just give you a speech while I'm here, Taylor. And then I get to count it too. But yeah, I do get to cross Maine off when I go there in September.
Awesome. Well, tell us a little bit more about your speaking, so that, if, like, who is your target market? Because maybe they're listening and maybe they're right now thinking, hey, I need to hire her to come speak to us. So tell us a little bit more about it.
Shoot, I hope that they do. You should hire me to come. I love speaking. I didn't know that there would ever be anything that I loved as much as riding my horses and competing. But oh my gosh, when you get in front of a good crowd of people and you get to share your story and you get to just watch people's faces light up, or hear their stories after, like, oh my gosh, I really do love it. I really do know it's my purpose of what I'm supposed to be doing. So but what it started, like, as far as who I speak to, it's been anything and everything, like from elementary school kids up to entire business corporations. So I don't even know if I could say I have a target audience. I would tell you, if you have a group of people that needs to be motivated or inspired, or you have a message of not giving up or overcoming obstacles, or whatever you want that message to be, that is what I can share and speak, especially with this last year being so crazy. And obviously we were all challenged in different ways from one point to another. Just remembering that you have the resilience and you have the capability to pick yourself up and keep going. That's what I get to share with people.
Awesome. So yeah, if you're listening and you need a message to your staff, your team, whoever it is, please give her a call. And you know what, share that with us. How do people follow you? How do they find you if they want to get you to speak? All of those things, share those as well.
Easiest place to get me for speaking is going to be my website, which is amberleysnyder.org. But you also can find me on any of my social media. So I do answer all of my social media. So on my Facebook, my Instagram, don't Twitter me because I don't know how to log into my Twitter. But all the other ones you can get me on. And so if you want to find me there, you can. But yeah, usually my website is going to be the easiest way to get a hold of me as far as coming and speaking.
Awesome. And again, if you haven't seen it, get on Netflix, Walk, Ride, Rodeo. It's incredible. It's inspiring. And thank you so much, Amberley. Good luck in making those circuit finals this year and in all the rodeos you're heading to. Good luck with your horse, everything that's going on. But thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.